Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore positive. It feels like yesterday that we got together with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was only a couple of weeks ago. You know, I used to fear this guy back in the day of, when Rod Woodson was a Steeler and before he came here. And Rod's coming on the program a little later on this week as well. He roamed Three Rivers Stadium and then made it over to Heinz Field. Somewhere through all these playoff games and twice a year, he even said to me a month ago, call me back next month. I'll come back on. Ed Bouchette, I didn't think you thought that the Steelers would still be undefeated when you said, call me. We'll talk about Rooney's Thanksgiving cookies. This has turned into a different kind of year for the Steelers, and you've covered them all, man.
Well, the best they've been before was 7-0. You have to go back to 78, Nestor. This is they've had quite a few close games, one right there in Baltimore that came down to the last play. And they've pulled them all out, obviously, and they've got a good balance on offense and defense. And they've played a couple teams that, Jaguars 1-8 when they played them. Dallas gave them a game, but they weren't very good. And then they have the Bengals after this without a quarterback. So if they can get through Thursday night, we might see them. What are they now? 10-0, 12-0, Nestor.
Well, so you've done all these years. I mean, all the Bradshaws and all the, the Mark Malones, the good years, the bad years. But, man, we've been in this division 25 years now. There have been very, very few years where the Ravens were actually better than the Steelers on paper or in reality. The Hines Ward eras and the Bus era, all the way around. How can this be that team? How do you attribute this? Just good fortune? Is it bad opponents? Where do you put it that this turns out to be the undefeated team?
This team, the Steelers?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Why this year?
Well, last year, if you remember last year, they came down to the last game in Baltimore and still had a chance to make the playoffs if they'd have beaten the Ravens. They did it without Ben Roethlisberger. Now you add him to the equation, Nestor, and it changes everything. They have a nice balance on offense, although they've been having trouble with their running game of late. It came around a little bit in Jacksonville. We'll see what happens against the Ravens. And their defense is good. Their defense lost Devin Bush, which hurt them, but they've covered up for it. They got 4 turnovers the other day, 2 interceptions each by their safeties, and that's something they led the league in doing last year. They're sacking quarterbacks again. That's something they've led the league the last 2 years. So you combine that really, really good defense with Ben Roethlisberger coming back on the offense, and that's a big reason they're 10-0.
So when the time comes that you have to sit at Super Bowl 50, 60, whatever it is, and say, 55. I'm going to present Roethlisberger for the Hall of Fame at this point, what makes him so special? I mean, you've been around it the whole time. People would ask me that about Ray Lewis or about Ed Reed or John Ogden or anybody you watched for a long period of time. I mean, we've now seen Flacco come and go here, right? Like of a different era and win. But Roethlisberger, I mentioned this a month ago. My wife and I sat here last year. He looked fat and old and tired, bearded up, and looked like he might not be coming back. He's a special cat, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's big, powerful, good arm that was probably made even better with that surgery, Nestor. He was having trouble with some ligaments in there. He revealed later that actually one was torn when he was playing for the last few years. And then he had 4 that had to be reattached, and they've done a darn good job. But he's big, strong, good arm. And I'll tell you what, he's gotten smarter. I mean, not that he wasn't before, but, it comes with experience. And he's making good decisions. He's not throwing a lot of interceptions. He threw a bad one the other day in the end zone. But nevertheless, he's only thrown 5. And he's working with a lot of young receivers. And I think a big difference, and this is going to sound blasphemous, Antonio Brown not being there. He would force the ball to Brown. Brown would make great plays. We've seen him. You remember the immaculate extension in Pittsburgh. But he can now throw to the open receiver and not force the ball. These young guys are just all in on all that.
Well, I think they were trying to figure this out a month ago, and none of you in Pittsburgh were particularly high on them. You're like, they've had good fortune, but this isn't the best Steelers team I've seen. Charlie Batch and I talking about that. And now all of a sudden you start to get into this groove where whatever you're going to see on Thursday night from the Purple guys is not – this is not the same football team, Ed, right? Like whether it's taking Marshall Yanda away and sort of that nastiness now since the last time we've seen you, Ronnie Stanley gone, and there was a reason they gave him $100 million. Nick Boyle gone. There was much of their scheming and the motion and everything they did relied on him being the lead blocking back. That won't be a part of this. Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams now out. And now the COVID thing has hit their Ed, I'm a big Ravens guy. You know that. I got the magma lamp here from Sporticulture, and you know how much I love the team. But I tweeted on Monday, I'm like, maybe this isn't our year. I mean, there's a point where maybe last year when, Duck, whatever his name's running around, where if you're a fan, you're like, it's probably not our year. I don't know what that means going to Pittsburgh on Thursday night. Maybe the Ravens go up there and somehow win, and Lamar runs left and right, and the Steelers don't look right. But, boy, the Ravens have been a mess since they lost to the Steelers.
Well, the thing is, get in the playoffs this year. There might be no buys depending on, how many more outbreaks there are in games they have to make up with an 18th week, Nestor. So the Steelers, they could go unbeaten and not have a bye in the playoffs and have to play that first week right along with Baltimore and everybody else. So I think if you make the playoffs and you get all those guys, you get the running backs back, obviously, and whatever else, other injuries you might get back. Baltimore can make a run. I saw the Steelers in 2005. They needed to win their last 4 games just to squeeze in as the last seed. And they played every game on the road and won them all and won the Super Bowl.
It happens. We did that back in 2001 as well. Ed Bouchette here, longtime Pittsburgh coverer, and you can find him out on Twitter and find all of his work out on the web as well. As you're working from home. Last time I talked to you, I was still traveling. I did not go to Indy. I did not go to New England in the rain. I am not coming to Pittsburgh to eat Mr. Rooney's cookies off the buffet for Thanksgiving dinner with Yins and Nat on Thursday. This has been the strangest year for you on the outside trying to cover the team in an undefeated thing. It's been a damnedest thing, but I can't imagine my team being that good and being boxed out of it.
Well, we're not totally boxed out, but it is tougher. And fortunately, I have another fellow with me, Mark Caboli, who does a really good job. And I kind of do some other things around the team, not specifically beat work per se all the time. So that's been fortunate for me, Nestor. But, without getting in the locker rooms, I mean, even if the team goes to the Super Bowl, what's the sense of going there? You're not going to be able to do anything.
I had my press credential form this week. It's the first time in 27 years. I didn't even fill it out. I'm like, I'm not pretending I'm getting on a plane to go to Tampa, whether the Ravens are there or not. I'm just not doing it. And look, you and I've spent the last 27 Super Bowls together. You've been there before me. All of it is about people. It's about you and me having a wine together with Ron and talking about Mike Tomlin and Cabali. And, it's fun, but it's like everything else. It's designed to bring people together. And we can't get together right now, including on Thursday night. I mean, I love this trip. I love coming up there. I mean, there's so many parts of this that have been fractured, but I think the one thing for even you and me to be able to get together and talk about the game, the league's going on. I mean, they're playing football, and they're going to play without half of our running backs on Thursday night, but they're going to play a game.
Yeah, it's amazing how things have changed since the beginning of the season when Tennessee had all those things, had all those cases, and they were shuffling. Well, Baltimore was involved in that too, shuffling everything around, trying to redo games, and they were able to. Now they won't be able to. So if they had to postpone a game, this would have been pushed back to, well, they could have tried Sunday or Monday, but it would have been ultimately, if they couldn't do it, it would have been an 18th week. And that, I don't know about you. I don't want to see that, Nestor.
Well, I think they're going to bubble up. I mean, I think that's the way the NBA and the NHL got to the finish line. I would expect them to put the final 8 teams on planes out to Vegas or LA and put them up someplace. That's what I'm expecting them to do, because they need to bubble wrap the quarterbacks and the better players, because I don't think they have a real I don't want to see the credibility of it go away after they've worked this hard. And that's not me being, feeling for the NFL, but there's a lot of money at stake. There's a lot of everything at stake. There's a lot of mojo, I think, in January and February when this country starts, bundling up, that they get these games in. I felt like baseball felt, and I kept saying Eddie Feiner, and I know you know what I'm talking about. It felt like a tournament.
Against him once.
Did you? How'd you do? Did you make
Grounded
contact?
the shortstop. Grounded the shortstop against Eddie Feiner.
You made contact, did you?
He let up on me on the 2 strikes.
I singled off
to do a story.
I singled off Tippy Martinez in a game at Bowie one. Yeah, I mean, he grooved me one. I wasn't ever good at hitting off lefties, but
Nestor, off the air, I got to tell you my Tippy Martinez story someday.
He picked 3 guys off Memorial Stadium.
World Series. 79 World Series.
79 World. All right. We will do it off the – and I love Tippy and Tippy's tacos as well, and I know his family. For me, the reason I said Eddie Feiner is the baseball season turned into a tournament, not a season, and it turned into like a sideshow. I think they all did. The NHL, they were just little tournaments to crown a winner. The NFL's really had a season, and it's felt like a season. It hasn't felt like the Masters with the wrong flowers. It hasn't felt like off-season this or running the Preakness and nobody's watching it. The NFL has managed to keep integrity through this thing to some degree. Dare I manage to say NFL integrity in the same sentence in the city of Benamalu and all that, but nonetheless, I think there's been an integrity to it that I think a bubble would help them in January, not have a team quack out because Aaron Rodgers gets the flu.
How about if all those other teams had their championships and no regular season, and the NFL had its regular season and couldn't pull off its championship?
Well, if they can't get to the finish line, there will be significant, palpable embarrassment. And I think if they have to say, well, we're going to play the Rams this week, even though, Donald and Goff can't, I don't think it can have credibility, and I think they've done a great job with that, Ed. I guess that's my real compliment to the NFL is it's been the one thing that's had some credibility as far as all of the sports since the beginning of this thing.
Yeah, they've been able to pull it off, Nestor. No games have been canceled. Some shuffling around here and there, but they've done a good job of that. We'll see. I mean, things are getting worse, as you found out in Baltimore this week.
You buying what the Browns are selling?
Yes, they're 7-3. They're a game ahead now of Baltimore, and while the Steelers put it to them pretty good, they're hanging in there. And they can be a dangerous team. That quarterback can get hot. They've got a good running game, okay defense, and they're not going to win the division, but they can make the playoffs and maybe pull a couple upsets. Who thought Tennessee was going to do what it did last year?
Ed Bouchette's out doing all things at The Athletic. He also does some radio up in Pittsburgh. You can find him out on Twitter and all places where the Steelers and the history of the Steelers have come together. All right, so I'm going to put you on a spot here because you know my relationship with Coach Tomlin. He and I were exchanging some sweet potato casserole recipes last week. For you, with where he is in this pantheon of Noel, and I watch Cower every Saturday now that I'm home watch it on TV every week like you. I didn't see a lot of that sort of thing before. And now where he is in the middle of this undefeated thing, and and I guess the pressure would be ramped up to win a Super Bowl if you wind up if you're 15-1 or whatever they're 14-2, whatever they'll be. Kansas City's going to be in the way. The plague's going to be in the way. But boy, Mike Tomlin's a hell of a football coach, huh?
Not bad. And we've known that for a long time here. He hasn't gotten the fame, if you will, his due, I don't think, in a lot of places. Actually, he's gotten it more nationally than locally. People want to keep picking apart small things that coaches do. They expect them to be perfect. But 14 years, no losing seasons, 2 Super Bowls, 1 win. He's probably equal to Bill Cowher, not their coaching styles, but his career so far, Nestor. In fact, if he goes unbeaten, if somehow they would go 16-0, he'll tie Bill Cowher for number of wins in Steelers history. Chuck Noll for me is way up here, but those other two are, Bill Cowher just made the Hall of Fame, so I'm sure Mike Tomlin's going to join him someday.
Well, it's 2 Super Bowls, 1 won, 1 lost, and now, another good team, very good team, undefeated team. And I guess I would say this for him and Roethlisberger. I think there's this big bad wolf of, the Steelers for everybody in the NFL. But, when you start talking about Manning or Brady or Belichick or, nobody says Tomlin. Nobody says Roethlisberger. Maybe there was a Bettis or Ward or, some of the other players. But when we're talking about the last 20 years of football, trying to get into that conversation, it's probably going to take another championship for those guys to be recognized in the way that maybe they should be recognized.
Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger has never gotten a vote for MVP. He's only won his own team's MVP. They have an MVP every year. The players vote on it. This is his 17th season. He's won it once.
Wow.
Which is incredible because usually the quarterbacks win everything, right? But he's going to make the Hall of Fame too. And if they win this year and win another Super Bowl, it'll all come together for all of them.
And I would ask you on that side with Roethlisberger and Tomlin and where they are, keeping it going at this point for Roethlisberger and coming back to do this. Man, I don't want to say the football wasn't important to him, but this has been a sordid tale for him on the dirt bike and him with the girl in Georgia, and then Tomlin managing that whatever the hell that was the last 3 years with Brown and Le'Veon Bell, and we're going to take knees and we're not going to take knees. And I mean, Tom, there has been a lot of drama for those of you like you and Kabali and those at the Athletic and everywhere up there to cover. This has been an interesting sort of wild ride over the last 17 years with Roethlisberger.
Yes, it has. And he's really morphed into something different and better. I think, Nestor, that thing in Georgia was a shock to his system. Not that the motorcycle accident wasn't, he almost got killed on that thing. And he's really matured a whole lot. He's a family man. He's a, deeply now religious man. And I just think he's a whole new person. And that's good for everyone, including us. He's very good with us. In fact, he apologized to me once right after 2010, right after he was suspended when he came back in June. He had to go away for a while to do some work, and he came back in June, and he apologized to me for being a jerk. And I said, get out of here. He says, no, I've been a jerk. You're going to find a new me. And I have, and everybody
10 years
else.
now. Really?
Yep.
Well, and look, I'm a different guy at 52 than I was at 22. And, the money, the fame coming out of the MAC. I mean, I saw Tomlin doing the whole MAC thing with those. There is a little part of, being the underdog. I think that sells into all that they do there. But it's been a magical run, and I'm sorry we're not getting together and having cookies. But I do love talking football with you, and I appreciate you taking some time out of the living room there in your estate there in Pittsburgh and doing it. And I hope we get together at some point, talk some playoff football here in a couple of weeks. This is all we got, man. I remember they took it away from us for 6 months. Us sports guys all got to stick together here, Ed.
Yeah, Nestor, and next year will be maybe different when we get that boop in our arm.
Right. Then I could come back up and eat Mr. Rooney's cookies and get a proper Permanis with yins and that. So like I thought I hated you guys and I don't. No. It's more like love. It's more like a family thing. Like I feel dirty not being a part of, not coming to Pittsburgh this year. There's going to be a part about walking over the bridge. I have all of these little things that I've done for 25 years. They've taken it away, and I've decided I need Pittsburgh. We need to get you back, Ed. So hang in there. Stay safe, all right?
All right, Nestor, thanks.
All right, I hope you're not writing about an undefeated team and doing all that greasy Mercury Morris nonsense. Come 72.
He's from Pittsburgh. Mercury Morris is from Pittsburgh.
They were undefeated in 72. Have you ever asked him?
Get out.
Ed Bouchette. You can find him at The Athletic and out at Twitter and covering all coverings of the Pittsburgh Steelers with the ins and out on Thursday night. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody out there. Hope you're finding us out at the new BaltimorePositive.com. We're shipping crab cakes. We are selling discounted, local, extraordinary, not Pittsburgh ice cream, Baltimore ice cream with our partners at the Harka. We're hoping that you order order a case of it for the holidays. Get some eggnog and some sweet potato crumble is what it's called at the Harker Brothers. I'm Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570. Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Steelers and Ravens and Hatfield, McCoys, and Baltimore positive, and even a little Pittsburgh positive.